guys, what's up? Making another video. This time I'm going to be making a video about Sweden and immigration and how it's pretty much just destroying Sweden. I mean, it's destroying Sweden. Well, what really brought this up was, Sweden had a terrorist attack last Friday on the 7th of April, where an asylum seeker who was denied asylum, and for some reason they lost track of him, hijacked a delivery car delivering beer, and he just decided to run over people in a busy shopping area. Just run him over. And where would he get an idea like that? Why would that pop in his head? Why would he? ISIS is telling people to run people over, do whatever you got to do, and that's what he did. The police said that he had an explosive in the car with him. They won't really elaborate on what it was. And for some reason he got away. I have no idea how he got away, but he did. And when they actually found him and they were trying to get him, the local people in his community actually started attacking the police. Again, this is a country that no-go zones don't exist, right? They just don't exist. They do. And this is another example of a no-go zone of crime, grenade attacks, drugs, shootings. That was the one thing really, when everyone talking about how immigration is working, they would point to Sweden, because Sweden, to be honest, hasn't had a lot of terrorist attacks. It hasn't. And they said, oh, look at Sweden, we're doing great, we don't have any terrorism, we're open, But this kind of, makes them all look stupid in Sweden. Because if they can't make it in Sweden, if they turn to jihad while they're in Sweden, there's a problem. Because Sweden is very open to the point of, they're committing cultural suicide. That cultural suicide. And if you point out how this isn't working, you're called racist. If you point out, hey, I want to protect the Swedish culture, I want to protect what it means to be Swedish, called a racist, Islamophobe, xenophobe, all the other nice little catchphrases they use to silence people. Oh, it also helps when the media is controlled by the government. That really helps, because they push propaganda. And yeah, Sweden. Even the Prime Minister said no more mass immigration. Sweden said no more mass immigration. Which, it's too late. I can't pronounce his last name. Stefan Löfven. I don't know. He's one of these other idiots in Sweden. The seeds have already been planted. He was an asylum seeker. His name was Rakhmat Akalov, 39, from Uzbekistan. He allegedly drove a stolen beer truck into pedestrians, and I have seen the pictures of that, and I would recommend that you do not see them, because one of them was an 11-year-old girl. And it's pretty horrific. She's missing a leg. The other leg is just, yeah. And you won't see that picture all over the media. You'll see the picture of the Syrian baby that drowned. You'll see that picture everywhere. That little Syrian baby whose father was the one driving the boat. The Syrian baby, where they picked it up and they put it, in a better position so they could get a better picture of it. I rarely see the children from France, the terrorist attack in France. I'm sure it's amazing how the media just will not. They just won't talk about it. I mean, they'll talk about it. I should say they won't talk about it, but they don't talk about it for very long. You see the stories they grab onto, and they push and push and push. And stories like this, they won't. After attacks like this, what they usually push, we need to come together for love. We're a united front. Remember after the attack in France, although the leaders were, they were marching down the street, they were embracing each other, and terrorists won't win. Yeah, that's really going to frighten ISIS. ISIS, the group that is basically setting people on fire, or they're drowning them in metal cages. Yeah, they're openly laughing at the Western world. Like I said, if they can't make it in Sweden, if they can't assimilate in Sweden, if they complain they're being oppressed in Sweden, they cannot make it anywhere. Sweden, has the best school. They used to have the best schools. I mean, you could look at the PISA scores, and they're dropping. They're dropping. They're having budget issues with schools. I mean, they're overcrowded now. It's just, for how smart the people of Sweden are, they really are brainwashed when it comes to mass immigration, multiculturalism, and to think that this is going to end up like that Coke commercial from the 1970s, where everyone's peace. It's not possible. This coexist, especially with Islam. It can't happen. It just can't happen. And like I said, if they can't be peaceful in Sweden, but it's just one attack in Sweden. It's just one terrorist attack, yes, but let's talk about the multitude of grenade attacks in Sweden. The arson attacks, the no-go zones. But the no-go zone exists in Sweden. They exist in Sweden. They do. Crime is increasing, rape is increasing. Well, that's not true. They just changed the definition in 2005 or 6. They changed. No. Rape is increasing. That's the line. When you debate these people about Sweden, they pretty much just regurgitate what they hear on state-run media. You would think the people of Sweden, so close to Russia, would understand that state-run media is dangerous. I mean, corporate media is dangerous too. Don't get me wrong, corporate media is dangerous too. But how about we, maybe kind of meet in the middle somewhere? Where it's not, but I'm an old-fashioned kind of guy. Let's see. I mean, you got the UN saying that Sweden will be a third world nation by 2030. The HDI index will be a third world level. Currently, it's 0.949, the HDI index, and by 2030 it'll be 0.906. They're predicting that actually Mexico will go from a 0.858 to a 0.923. Mexico HDI will increase, while Sweden's is dropping. The HDI is the Human Development Index. It is a composite statistic of life expectancy, education, and per capita income indicators, which are used to rank countries into 4 tiers of human development. So yeah, Sweden, that's where multiculturalism is getting you. And I'm against socialism, but I have to admit that Sweden is kind of like really the only country that you could look at and go, socialism, maybe it's working. but not anymore. Not anymore. Because socialism, because of the state-run media and all that, is forcing this down people's throats. So they're destroying the only kind of example that socialism could possibly work. But no, they ruin it. They always ruin it. Socialism. Sweden. So we had a bunch of people, gather today in Stockholm, to show unity, love, not hate, love, not hate. And it's just, those are scenes from, Time Machine. Great book. In the movie Time Machine, he of course built a time machine. he goes forward to wham! It's not this 200 years, 300. It's like thousands of years in the future. And he watches how civilization is destroyed, brought back up, destroyed again, and then he stops it when it seems like the Earth is a jungle again. There's trees and flowers, and he stops, and he hears people talking, and he comes up and he sees all these beautiful blonde-haired, blue-eyed people, and he smiles. He's like, yeah, but then he hears something, and he sees a beautiful woman drowning in a creek. She's drowning. She's holding onto a rock, and there's a guy on the rock just watching, and everyone around is just watching her drown, and he's horrified. He's like, what? Why don't you help her? So he does what a man should do. He jumps in and saves her, brings her out. She's out of breath. She's shaking, and then she stops. She starts breathing normally. She stands up and walks away like nothing happened. That to me is current Sweden, where their conditioning just stops. Their logic, it just completely stops it. I'm sure when the seed of doubt enters their mind in Swedish people, where they're like, does this maybe work? I guarantee in their mind they go, oh, don't have that thought. That's racist. It doesn't enter the thought, maybe is it true or not? They've been conditioned to say, oh my God, that's a horrible thought. I shouldn't have had that thought. Am I racist? Oh my God. Am I xenophobic? Am I Islamophobic? That's literally what's happening in Sweden right now. They are more afraid of being called xenophobic or Islamophobic than being raped. Rape is increasing in Sweden. Sexual assaults are increasing. Crimes in Sweden are increasing. It's the truth. And if, unfortunately, the only way for Sweden to survive, to keep its culture, its proud culture, is to deport these people back to their countries. If you do not, Sweden will collapse. It will be a third world nation. There is no advantage to importing third world people. Why are you surprised when you import third world people that your country turns into a third world nation? Why are you surprised by that? Honestly, why are you surprised? You bring these people over here from the third world. They self-segregate. They build their own communities. They resent the Swedish people, the government. Why are you surprised? In all you can't really give any excuses on why, they live in ghettos. What excuse can you give? They don't have a proper education? No, they have some of the best education in the world. Oh, they don't have healthcare? No, they have free healthcare. Sweden is a socialist country. And if you keep bringing this stuff up about why it's not working, how it's failing, you keep giving reason after reason, and they can't come back with anything. Their ultimate atomic bomb will always be, oh, you're racist. That's it. Islamophobic. Xenophobic. That's all they have. Logic does not enter their mind. Emotion. You can't debate emotion. You just can't. And that's how you truly brainwash someone. You use emotion. Either it's happiness, anger. I mean, that's how they condition these people need help. They need help. Yes, they do need help. The Swedish people need help. They need help. I mean, good God. At what point are these people going to go, well, maybe, no. And that's what I'm saying. It'll never happen. These people are so conditioned. And the ones that are actually use logic and see that's not working, they're harassed. You post anything online, it's hate speech. Yet all the multitude of street preachers that preach hate in Sweden, nothing happens to them. They literally they're not deporting ISIS members, but yet they'll go after Swedish citizens that vocalize on Facebook. I mean, when you have all the rapes in Sweden, that's kind of, they literally, groups of men will encircle women in Sweden and grope and molest them. You know, that's what happened in Egypt with that reporter, where she was surrounded and she was groped by men. It was in Egypt, and people were horrified. Well, that's not happening not only in Sweden, in Germany as well. These mass rapes. And Sweden, you know, is very lenient on criminals too. Very, very. It's every excuse they give, you know, why they can't make, oh, you know, crime and punishment's too rough, you know, housing, food. That you can't say that about Sweden. If they can't make it in Sweden, they can't make it anywhere in Europe. Sweden is not safe. The women in Sweden don't feel safe. Honestly, I don't know how anybody, I mean, it's got to be kind of a culture shock for the people of Sweden to come from a very safe country for years, and now to see this increase in crime has got to be scary. But even that's not really. The fear of being called xenophobic and racist is just too strong, too ingrained in their minds. They've been indoctrinated. You know, as I'm making this, you know, I don't think they really want to assimilate Islam. And here I'm talking about, you know, if they can't assimilate, obviously they can't, but I don't think they want to. Islam is a very type A religion. It's not open to other groups, other religions. It's not. I mean, it battles they fight with Hindus and Buddhists. Good God, they hate Islam, the Hindus and Buddhists. They still fight with them. For 1,400 years, this group has tried to destroy Western culture. And it seems they're going to succeed with the help of Western leaders. I mean, I don't know if it's by design or they're just incredibly stupid. And that's something else I want to bring up to just instead of just mentioning. I mean, when you look at this Swedish Green Party, heavily liberal, very liberal, progressive, socialist, whatever you want to call them, they've been caught having ties to radical Islam, radical Turkish groups in Sweden. When you look at the Labour Party in England, they've got connections with radical jihadists. I mean, you got the current mayor of London, London, who's met with ISIS sympathizers. I mean, even in the Democratic Party in the United States, they have ties to terrorism. It seems that progressive liberal groups are aligning themselves with Islam. I mean, you see it across college campuses and stuff like that. How they're, but that's kind of I guess another rant that I'll do. So yeah, basically that's my rant on Sweden. It doesn't look good for Sweden. There's no Le Pen in Sweden. There's no Trump in Sweden, even though I'm pissed off at Trump for what he did in Syria. And like I said, I'm not going to vote for him again. But there's no alternative candidate, or even, a party in Sweden. Which is ironic that, the liberals in Sweden are so open to Islam, but they're not very open to conservatives or even moderates. They're really not, which is hilarious to me, but kind of funny, isn't it? Well, yeah, that's my video. Thanks. Have a good one, guys.